18-year head coach of the Baltimore Ravens, John Harbaugh, fired. I know they like to say mutually parted ways, but we kind of know what that means is let go from the Baltimore Ravens. So I have to ask you, man, like, our original question was, what was the future like? We didn't even, honestly, I didn't think he would get fired, but, we had to kind of leave that on the table. But now that he's officially fired, what do you think that means for him? Reportedly, there's like 7 teams that had called within the first hour, which is hilarious because there's only 7 openings and Baltimore's one
Including
of
the
them.
one. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So there's a team out there that called about him that currently has a coach. I
Mhm.
think a lot of people think that team is Miami, but there's no kind of proof of that. It's just what you read about Mike McDaniel and conflicting
Yeah.
reports of whether he says he's staying, but then Miami reporters who were talking to potential GM candidates are saying that he's not going to be there. So I don't know. Who knows? What do you think of John Harbaugh being fired? Do you think that was a good move, smart move, and what do you think is the best fit for? Well, we'll get to that later. Well, yeah, best fit for him. What do you think is the
Yeah,
best fit?
man. I think I don't know if it's a smart move. He's such a phenomenal coach, but he's been with Baltimore for so long. I think it was time for a change for them, right? It just seems over the past couple of years they've been spinning their wheels, and what makes it extra hard is they have MVP candidates. Like they have MVP quarterback, they have a top running back on their team. When you have these weapons and you're just not getting it done, then yes, something needs to change, and it's not going to be the top players. It's going to end up being the coach. So, look, I think for the Ravens, this is good for many reasons because there are a lot of coaches or potential coaches out there that have the opportunity to inherit ultimately a playoff contender next year. They don't need to change much in order to remain competitive. I see the Ravens opening honestly is one of the best jobs for a coach to go for. Is there is just immediate upside through and through. You have Derrick Henry, you have Lamar Jackson, you have proven talent on both sides of the ball. And honestly, new blood and a new coach is what could possibly separate that and get them into the playoff contention, and of course being in a Super Bowl too. So that's the upside for Baltimore. For Harbaugh, he's got his pick, man. Like he can literally, like you said it best, 6 openings, he got 7 calls, which is incredible. And look, if we're looking at the teams in terms of where he can go, should he choose to continue his coaching career, I honestly see my New York Giants as being the top pick. Big market team, huge upside with a little bit of risk. And the risk is this. Look, well, let me start with the upside. You have a young quarterback in Jackson Dart who has proven himself. We have really good draft capital, and we have emerging offensive weapons, all prime for a coach that might want to grow from the ground up. The risk I see is potentially we know we're keeping Joe Shine. So it's one of these where you get a coach that doesn't vibe well with the GM, you're going to have issues in helping to build that core. Or alternatively, you're going to hear drama and then the GM is going to be out of job soon anyways too. But I think overall, because of the draft assets as well as the youth in the Giants, there's huge potential there. If you're looking for another team for a rebuild, I mean, you can look at the Cleveland Browns too. I mean, they're in prime rebuild mode there. And honestly, I think those two of the current openings are best picks in terms of where he can land. We know that there's probably another team, whether it is Miami or maybe it's a team in the playoffs right now that's just waiting for their early bounce out of it, that had called Coach Harbaugh and said, "Hey, if this doesn't work out, we want you here, and here's why." But if I'm looking anywhere else, I think the Raiders, they have good draft options. But inherently more risk. It seems as though there's they can't retain talent in Vegas. And I honestly don't see that changing anytime soon. And then overall, I mean, Titans, Cardinals, Falcons, I don't know. I just think with the 3 I've listed before between the Giants, Browns, and Raiders are probably the top choices to go. But who knows? Maybe he wants to go to, maybe he wants to be in Tennessee or Arizona. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think the Ravens still have to pay him for the next 2 years. I think that's the rest
Yeah.
of his contract. But so he has the option to sit out. But I don't see that happening with him. I saw just like everybody else, saw the notification pop up. Ravens part ways with John Harbaugh. And I had to read it twice before I said it to the group chat, because usually
Yeah.
when a franchise makes a move like this, it's because like the wheels have fallen off of everything. It's because you've lost the locker room, or you've had like 3 or 4 straight losing seasons, and you're completely irrelevant when it comes to, where you were before. And John Harbaugh is none of those things. But that's where we are now, right? You decided the guy who's been the stabilizing force for your franchise in that building since what, 2008? You won a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco, and all of
Hmm.
a sudden he's the problem now. I hate this move for Baltimore. And I talked to a few Ravens fans, and I was shocked that it was like, hey, thanks for the memories. Now hit the bricks, kid type attitude. I couldn't believe it. I was like, yo, you guys are tripping. And he's going to be unemployed for like a day if he wants it. Obviously, we saw the 7 teams reach out for him. But, you know, what drives me nuts about all of it is that we constantly talk about culture in the NFL and we want consistency. John Harbaugh was the culture for Baltimore. Look at the teams that cycle through coaches every year, Bert. Every 3 years, the Jets, Raiders. You're going to add Baltimore to that list. They've had like 3 coaches in their lifetime, in 3 or 4 coaches since they've left Cleveland and became the Ravens. But this feels like a scapegoat decision. Like what has Harbaugh done? We talked about it. 18 years head coach, 180 and 113 record. 12 playoff appearances, 4 AFC championship appearances, and a Super Bowl. What exactly is his fault? Is it his fault that Lamar Jackson can't play in the playoffs and he's hurt every year? Is it his fault that the wide receiver fumbled in the end zone in 2023 at the goal line? Is it his fault that Mark Andrews choked and dropped the ball, an easy touchdown pass last year? Is it his fault that his rookie kicker missed basically a chip shot, field goal to win? Why, like, we're blaming coaches for players choking now? Be careful what you wish for. Like, this is, Baltimore sent the message that we are choosing Lamar Jackson over you. And I get it. I know I have eyes. I'm not an idiot. I know Lamar Jackson is talented. I know he does things that are like otherworldly, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend all the playoff failures are on the coach. Like, I can't do it. We've all seen the games. We all know what the deal is. You know, now there's reports
Yeah, but
that
a
he
lot
didn't
of the
want to let.
examples you just listed in terms of losing within the last couple of minutes and or seconds or
Mhm.
resulting in these one plays is just a result of that. And I don't want to say it's bad coaching completely, but if your game and or season comes down to one critical play at the end of the game, then yeah, it does come down to preparation. And I know there's a lot into it and we can't completely scapegoat the coaches if the players don't show up. But what I will say, in an 18-year tenure, playoff success, yes. One Super Bowl. I mean, I think we have to look at the average tenure right now in the NFL for head coaches and say,
Mhm.
if they're not getting it done, they're not getting it done. And I think with Harbaugh out of the picture, I mean, it falls back on Mike Tomlin to continue to be the longest running tenured coach that we have with one particular team. He's 19 years in with
Mhm.
2 Super Bowls, well over 500 record, usually every season except for one within the past 19 years, which is impressive in itself. But and as we talked about earlier this season too, if Pittsburgh continued to struggle, then we might see an exit there as well.
True.
But I mean, look, I can't sit here and be shocked at it. I mean, look at Andy Reid's tenure in Philadelphia, 14 years,
Mhm.
up and down programs, one Super Bowl appearance, leaves, goes to Kansas City, wins 3. So, this change of scenery could be great, you know?
You bring up Mike Tomlin. I saw a stat during Mike Tomlin's era: 9 different head coaches have been fired immediately after losing to the Steelers. So he's like the grim reaper for head coaches. Like, he's just taking them
Yeah.
out. I mean, listen, I it's cool. It's just it feels like the Ravens are firing like the CEO of the company because the star salesman couldn't close a deal. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're blaming
Yeah.
Harbaugh for gaffes like you at the end of games. Like, I don't know. That, to me, that's not coaching. It's like, I don't know if, and you just mentioned a lot of teams. There's a lot of teams with vacancies. I'm sprinting to the airport to pick up Harbaugh. I'm not letting him leave the building. Seriously, I mean, I'd fire the Bills. I'd fire Sean McDermott today, and bring in Harbaugh tomorrow and have him on the sideline for Sunday's game. Like I don't care. If I'm a Ravens fan, I'd be very worried that like the one adult in the room just left, and now you're stuck with a quarterback who we've had issues with, kind of like not really his attitude, but reports that he's sleeping in meetings and he's not really. He doesn't act like a starting quarterback. You know what I mean? Like this isn't really
Mhm.
a racial or I guess it's more of a culture thing, but like he just doesn't present himself as the standard prototypical franchise quarterback, which is fine because he wins and he's two-time MVP and he's just different. There's really nothing wrong with it. It's just when you when you go out of your way to be different, those criticisms are going to rear their ugly head when you don't have the success to follow it. And
Yeah.
now the only excuse or the only scapegoat they have is John Harbaugh. They better bring somebody in that is going to take them that last little half step and figure it out, because then we're going to start questioning Lamar a little bit more than he will. But and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the next guy will just fix it and it'll be cool. But I wouldn't bet on that.
Mm. Well, I think half the issue was to this year with how bad the AFC North was, right? When you look at it, this should have been a clear runaway with Baltimore, and I think that
Yeah,
certainly went into this decision. You look at the Joe Burrow injury, obviously counting Cincinnati down and out, the Cleveland Browns and their QB identity crisis that continued well into this season, but they haven't stopped any other year. So why start now? And then you had the up and down Steelers. Who did we think that a 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers was going to be the revival of all revivals? No, but he's scrappy and he got it done. So I think that definitely played into the narrative. I think you said it best. This a new coaching scheme can do one of two things, right? It's either going to put complete onus on Lamar for getting it done, and it's going to be more out in the open than ever, or alternatively, maybe it's going to give them that jolt, and maybe he does need someone different to kind of help spark that too. So, hey man, we'll know next August. But for now, I don't hate it because my Giants need a new coach. I'll hate it if he decides to go somewhere else and we end up stuck with Kevin Stefanski or something. But we'll see.